Tom Homan was our guest the first half hour, and he mentioned this nutcase who was out there last night comparing the Republicans and the immigration sweep to the Nazis and the Holocaust. Do we have that, you guys? Let's watch.
Defeating the Jews of Europe, who they viewed as subhuman, was a question of good conquering evil, which conditioned millions of Germans to celebrate Hitler and turn a blind eye to his brutality. If that sounds vaguely familiar, that's because it is. Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme. Trump and Stephen Miller, his former director of speechwriting, depict non-white immigrants as carriers of deadly diseases who are violent terrorists. Trump was returned to the presidency after staging a coup and has exerted control of media or social media in order to parrot anti-immigrant vitriol and openly hateful anti-LGBTQ language.
And she finished that whole diatribe, Mark, by accusing Elon of doing a Nazi salute at the Trump rally, which we've been over ad nauseum. I mean, obviously she doesn't have a lot of sway with Democrats, but is it shocking to you that she still has the post she does on MSNBC?
No, I mean, there's a niche audience for that line of discussion. I won't say reasoning. It's not as big a niche as it was, although their numbers are up a little bit. It's interesting. On the Republican side, on the MAGA side, people like her, people who create content, people who have shows, they're interacting with the officials, and they're being really tactical and strategic to say, what are we for that's popular, and how do we sell that to the public? The Democratic Party, which remains as far left as it's been in our lifetimes, isn't doing that. They're just out there selling what they've been selling to their audience, not trying to think, what's wrong with what we're selling? Why isn't it more appealing to a broader group? And her revenue model is apparently wedded to that line as opposed to trying to think anew.
You've got CNN not doing much better. They have Scott Jennings on there, as you've surely seen, Dan, and he's doing yeoman's work trying to defend the Trump administration. He's literally the one Republican they put on with a panel of all Democrats, and I include the anchors in that. And he got into a dust-up last night with this woman from the Washington Post named Catherine Rampell, who used to be the theater critic, I think, over at the Times. So this has enabled her to opine on whether, for example, Pete Hegseth is qualified to run the Department of Defense, saying his only real qualification is he was on Fox News, kind of just wiping out all that time he spent with a gun in Iraq and Afghanistan and at Gitmo. She's reduced him to a Fox TV host as though Trump had nominated Brian Kilmeade. She's back at it over there, and she decides to go after Musk, who honestly, find me a billionaire, even Bill Ackman, who's, constantly posting on X about 10/7 and what's been happening at universities and is probably the main reason Claudine Gay went down at Harvard. Mm-hmm. But find me a billionaire that's done more to call attention to what's happened to the Jewish people in Israel than Elon Musk. He went over there. He toured it with Ben Shapiro. He's been wearing a necklace to represent the hostages since a parent of a hostage gave it to him. He said he won't take it off until they're all home. He's made repeated public statements about it. He went to Auschwitz. He recirculates their movies, calling attention to this. No, he's a Nazi because he did the touch the heart and then the alleged salute thing. And watch this exchange she had with Scott Jennings.
The first time that Elon Musk decides to declare that globalist Jews are responsible for the great replacement of brown people into the United States, maybe it was a misunderstanding. The second time he said that Jews are pushing hatred against white people, that's a quote, that was a little iffy. By the second Sieg Heil, I think he kind of loses the benefit of the doubt to be not accused of playing footsie with these Nazis.
He has a long record of supporting the Jewish people, number one. Number two, anybody who is asserting this thing he did on the stage the other day was a Sieg Heil, which I just heard you say, lawyer up maybe, because absolute ridiculous thing to say. Under no
The
circumstances.
Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sieg Heil.
Under no
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sieg
circumstances
Heil.
was he doing anything other than expressing enthusiastically.
Why don't you do it on TV right now?
His appreciation.
Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so?
Number three.
So, you know, banal.
I can't. Can I just tell you a little backstory about this woman? So she attacked Pete in the way I said. I came on the air and pointed out she's a theater critic and she should shut up. She doesn't know anything. And then she posted on X, she was all offended because people were writing nasty things to her. Oh, thanks a lot, Megyn Kelly. Let me explain something to you, Catherine, about being in the public eye. If you're going to go on CNN and you're going to offer inane opinions, people are going to comment on them, and then you might get some nasty tweets. It's called being an adult on the internet. Grow up. So she doubles down and accuses Elon Musk of a double Sieg Heil. And why is this happening, Dan? Is it because they need to take down Elon? He's too much of a threat. Or is it because identity politics and the opportunity to hit somebody for being anti-Jew or anti-black or anti-what have you is so important to these far left wingers that they just look around for any possible opportunity and then they seize on it. You know, they just see it where it isn't there because they've trained their brains that there are racists and Nazis everywhere among us.
Yeah, that clip was embarrassing and ridiculous. And I think, look, the frustrating thing as a Democrat is, one, there is some data that the country is not comfortable with, like, business titans in government, because they don't necessarily think they're there because they're, you know, completely patriotic and philanthropic. They think there might be in there to pad the bottom line, and it's in their, you know, business interest. You lose all credibility to start making those arguments, or people won't hear them when you start calling them a Nazi and you start, you know, kind of focusing on a hand gesture on the stage. Now, if he did it every time he spoke and he ended every, you know, meeting like that, okay, different conversation. But as Scott said, to no one's knowledge, is he a Nazi or espouse, you know, hate the Jewish people, or
he's a bad Nazi. Right. If he's a Nazi, he's very bad at it. This is not how it's done, Elon. You do not express love for the Jewish people. You do not lament their hostage taking. You do not go pay homage at Auschwitz to those killed in the Holocaust. It's not a thing. That you're doing it all wrong.
It's crazy. And again, the party doesn't know where to go. I guess it's like trying to, you know, develop new muscles in your body. The old muscles sometimes kick in early on. And it's calling somebody a Nazi or, you know, doesn't support democracy has been kind of in vogue, sadly, in my opinion, in the last, you know, 4 or 5 months in the party. So it's maddening because, again, there is, and it is fundamentally American, we're somewhat distrustful of powerful people. I think that has served our country well. And so, you know, I happen to believe that Elon Musk, probably as he pokes around the government, is keeping an eye on one of his 5 businesses and thinking, like, is there opportunities here? And so, you know, that is probably a better line of questioning. And you might have to hold your powder dry until there's, you know, some good examples. But yes, it's embarrassing.
Megyn,
Can I ask you about that, Mark? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I have a very high tolerance for crocodile tears because I've watched them shed by both parties throughout my career. But I thought back after this made-up controversy over Elon Musk's exuberant physical action, which you can find pictures of many Democrats doing, to the controversy over the joke told about Puerto Rico at the Madison Square Garden rally. And for 5 days, the Democrats told us in the media that this was going to cost Donald Trump the election. And it's hard to imagine, I can't look into the soul of others, it's hard to imagine that there was really any Democrat actually outraged by the joke. These are crocodile tears, and they're dangerous for a party trying to rebuild itself, because if they think that the way to identify with the real lives of real people is to accuse Elon Musk of being kind of the Maxwell Smart of Nazis, like so bumbling that he's doing a version of their salute in front of people, I just find it really unfortunate. And again, it's testament to, as Dan said, their reflexes are to criticize Donald Trump and everyone around him in personal terms. There are things to criticize, but to make up an accusation like this, it's very strange and unfortunate.
Undermines your
but it's
credibility.
Par for the course.
We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and the rising cost of living, and we could have a very big problem on our hands. So what are you doing right now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a very safe haven in very hard economic times. And Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into an IRA in gold. And it won't cost you one penny, not one out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Text my initials, MK, to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.